Hello and welcome again for one other session of Beyond the Usual. And today I have Laura. Laura, we have been in contact for a few years now, maybe know a little bit about each other from our LinkedIn feeds, mutual friends. But let's say, I guess a week or so ago, we really got time to like sit down, learn a little bit about each other. And it's funny how 30, 40 minutes you start filling out each other's sentences because you're like, I'm thinking what you're thinking. And so thank you so much for coming on this episode. It's I know so little of you, yet I know so much of you. So it's just amazing to have this opportunity to be able to chat with you, ask you a few questions, take a few questions from you, and then share a little bit about our lives, our experiences, and know more about each other in the second week of actually connecting with each other. So we'll go ahead and get started. So my very, very, very first question to you, here it comes. When we met last time, you mentioned about being at a financial firm, a president leading it for almost 15 years, and then along the term, you've managed, mentored your teams, you've advised them, and you've done other things like being an author, written books, led a podcast. And also recently, you are investing and are a part owner of an AI based company and other things. If you could just couple all these experiences together and your different journeys, what are some of the milestones and things that come back as like if you're going through this journey and reaching back your fintech and more? Give us a little glimpse of what it felt like and any learnings along the way.
Well, first off, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you so much for the opportunity to, as you said, get to know you a little bit more too. Because if there's one lesson and one thing that I'd like to share, and it kind of ties to your question that you just asked me, is that when you take the time to really get to know other people, you realize how much more you are alike to those people. Even when they might look different, sound different, have different backgrounds, different whatever experiences, we all have some basic foundational human connections that at the end of the day, you can always find something that you can build upon if you take the time to get to know people. And so, to answer your question, I have always been fascinated about people. Okay. My journey into the mortgage industry started by being a part time cold calling telemarketer. That is how my career started. Now, that happened because me and my husband, I had my first son, I was 19 years old. We were high school sweethearts. We got married very young, and we had our first son very young. So I wanted to stay home. And so I worked in the evening cold calling. Well, see, because I was so young and naive, I guess, my premise was, well, if I just went into this, not as a sales tactic, I'm not trying to sell anyone anything, I'm not trying to manipulate them or get a yes. All I'm going to do is try to infuse a little bit of something special in that conversation. It could be just uplifting someone with my energy and wishing them a wonderful day.
You
I
still
don't
have that energy. You
get,
still have that energy, I must say that.
but that's the point. The point is that that girl that was 21 years old doing that, I'm still doing the same thing. And I realized that people would say yes to me just because of the fact that they wanted to keep speaking to me. Like they wanted to ask me, well, Laura, let me ask you this question about this mortgage, or let me find out more about this. Because I didn't try to sell them anything. I didn't try to convince them. I didn't try to rush through something. I just genuinely wanted to give them a good experience. But see, I took that And I applied it to my entire career. Every moment that I had, I still go into every conversation thinking the same thing. I don't think, what can I get out of this? What can I sell them? What can I close? What can I gain? I just listen and have conversations and I connect and I learn how I can help bring value to someone else, right? To whatever they're doing. And magically, usually there's a way that we can both benefit. So I will never stop expanding and challenging myself to continue to get out of my comfort zone. That's my book. My books are Say Yes Every Day. And what that means is that I'm saying yes to the opportunity of living my life to the fullest. It's not about saying yes to everything, it's about living your life to the fullest. So that, all of that, it applies in every section, and not just my professional life, my personal life too. So now I'm going to throw it back to you. Awesome. So now I want to hear the same concept of, if you're going to go back to the beginning of your career. What thing, tying to kind of what I said, what thing did you do early on in your career that you still are applying in your business life now?
Doing more things, different things. One of the very early on, I don't know how it even got into my mind and thinking, was how can I do the same thing differently? And now that I'm at this moment trying to think why or what, it could also be because when I was probably fourth or third grade, my parents had enrolled me into singing classes. Um, Classical singing, Indian classic.
Wow.
I did it for a few years till about seventh, but then it was like, no, the study, all things happened and I gave up. But the want to sing has always been there. And I think each time I sing, I try to sing it differently. So I have a feeling maybe that's subconsciously in my mind.
That's the
Where even when
foundation.
that's the
That's
foundation.
the foundation.
When I'm cooking, I want to cook the same dish a little differently. When I'm maybe painting or coloring, so same thing, right? So even at tasks, if you're doing the same project a little differently, or you're trying to redo, upgrade, enhance, that's something like with a different viewpoint, not
Well,
having
I think that's your entrepreneurial side. That's an entrepreneurial thinking.
possibly, right? I still don't pronounce the word correctly. I've always struggled with that word, but yes, like it's one. Some people are just born to do,
Yeah.
or are, you can say, they get tired of doing the same things time and again. We need a lot of change. So
We do. We have to constantly be
yes.
involved. That's the entrepreneurial brain. I was just having this conversation because I have two sons, and I have one son that is like me, that has that entrepreneurial brain, and then I have another son that is more like my husband, that is more structure. And he needs to know, this is the job, this is what we do. I'm going to do a great job at this, and I really don't have an interest in doing all these other things. Where me and my other son, we're like, oh my God, that's like death to us to do the same thing over and over again.
Yes. Or just as we started the session today and we are like, okay, questions. You know what? The best questions come when you're not prepared for it. So I'm more confident when I'm not prepared. I hate to say that because I know there are some things you just have to be prepared for, right? I wouldn't go on the stage and be like, now I'm going to sing. No. But in general, I think I've managed to flex my muscles very early on, even whether it was at school or trying to do things or participating in things maybe where the school never did before. Or even I remember at one previous job, we were celebrating Diwali and I was like, let's all celebrate it. Just not Indians. I will bring clothes. I'll bring my husband's clothes. Like everyone bring what you got in your closet.
How wonderful. How wonderful is that? I mean, who wouldn't want to learn about another culture, right? And understand that and be part of it. I mean, that's fabulous.
So I would say, and that's something that I've always continued. Yes, if there's no change, constancy bores me. So, yeah.
Me too. I think that's another similarity.
Yes, possibly, very much. All right, to your next question. So, I was mentioning when we were chatting last time that I was home because my daughter was sick, and you said, "Oh my God, I remember those days. We didn't have work from home. You had your kid very early on, and the first thing you woke up and found your kid sick, you were like, where do I leave? Because I have to be in office, whatever, 1 hour from now, 2 hours from now. There is no concept of working from home. Any tips that you have on the hustle of parent life and how you've in those times balanced it out? And absolutely right, there are better times now, at least for some of our jobs. Yes, there are
Right.
still women being school bus drivers or cops, like there are roles, or even
Yeah.
teachers cannot,
Nurses, right?
nurses,
Nurses.
so many of them,
Yeah.
so many of them who on the sharp click of five cannot leave the office, or many things. Anything that you have to share for or about your experiences or anything that you remember from there, and also for both men and women because they are collectively working on raising their family. Tips on how you balance it out.
So I'm going to start with the men and women conversation first, all right? And then we'll go backwards, right? So I recently had a conversation with a very successful man, right? And he has twins under 1 year old, okay? And we were having a conversation about something, and he was, oh, I know what it was. I know what it was. I recall now. So he says to me, Laura, we're planning our biggest conference of the entire year. And he tells me the date. And I said, wait a minute, isn't that around your twin's birthday? And he goes, oh my God, it actually is. And I'm like, holy moly, you booked this huge conference around that time? And he said, yes. And he said, I want to tell you how me and my wife work these things through. And I love the fact of what he shared. And it really resonated with how I handled this when my kids were little. What he said to me, and this is brilliant, is he said, Laura, me and my wife constantly have discussions of our agreements together. And I said, okay, I'm loving this. Expand on it. He said, well, we kind of go together and say, what help does each of us need? Meaning, you know what? I stress out about cooking. I'm a terrible cook. I'm not really good at that. How about you handle the cooking, for example, right? Or how about we split the cooking? You handle the cooking these days and I handle it the other days. You handle the laundry, I'll handle the pickup from daycare, whatever. He said, and we get together and we make a calendar of this is when I can travel. This doesn't work because, maybe something's going on. It's not going to work for me to be away from home. And we sit down on a regular basis and make an agreement together with a plan because we're partners. This is not one has a heavier load than the other person does. We are doing this together. And I can tell you that now going back to me personally, when we realized that I was on the quick career track, okay, me and my husband, now back in the days of telemarketing and stuff, I got promoted very quickly, and I was running the entire marketing thing with 300 people on the phones within a couple of months. And I stayed there until my kids went to school so that way I could still balance and be at home during the day. When we made the decision of me going to work full time during the day, we saw that I had the biggest opportunity for growth in my career. I was in the mortgage industry. There were positions I could take to be able to earn more income, to be able to move up through the ranks. And me and my husband made a pact all those years ago where we said, here's the deal. I will always take the risk. I will go for the biggest opportunities. I will be the more entrepreneurial spirit. I will be commission only in some instances, right? P&L only. You You will get the best health insurance. You will have the best 401k. You will have the days off that you could take so that if the kids are sick, you can stay home. You have plenty of PTO time. It's not going to hurt anything. And then I will fast forward that conversation. My parents never owned a home. We grew up, four of us, during a time of just, middle class family, no extras. There wasn't extras. There was enough to get by, but no extra. And so when my mother turned around 60, 63 years old, my mom came to me and she said, Laura, we never owned a home. We want to retire and we can't afford to live where we live on our own. And I'm like, okay, Mom, what's your thoughts? She's like, how about we come together, we add on to your house, you pay half, I pay half, we live above you, and we'll pick the kids up from school, we'll take them to practice, we'll make sure that all the homework's done, and while your career is going up, you don't have to worry about a thing. That happened now 20 years ago. It's actually this year is 20 years ago that happened. And my kids had the greatest relationship with their grandparents, bonded together, right, forever, to where now they're out of the house. But we recognized that if I was going to have that career, if I was going to build companies, if I was going to be off traveling, if I was going to do all that stuff, you have to look at what resources you have. And you have to look for those partnerships, and you have to look for those agreements, whether those agreements are with your parents, your partner, your best friend, your community, whatever that is. You can't do it by yourself. I don't care who you are, male or female, you need help when you're raising that family, and give yourself a little grace, because there's going to be days where it's going to be tough. Absolutely. And then there's going to be days that it'll be easier. When you look back, for the most part, you don't remember the really tough stuff. For the most part, that kind of goes away as time passes. And I will also tell you that it does work out in the end. I have a phenomenal relationship with my boys, and they watched me bust my back growing up, and they know how hard work, how much you put in, what you get out. Or you get out, sorry, you get out what you put in. You have to do the work.
They start strong. So you're leaving that example. Absolutely.
So now, all right, so now you're at the beginning part of your journey, where you in the middle of this process. Like you said, the last time we spoke, you had a little one ill at home, and so you had to work from home. So I want to know, yes, you have that balance, but maybe it's even different, because see, I didn't have the option to work from home. I had to figure it out. Do you almost think having the ability to work from home, and I'm not necessarily speaking about you as a generalization, I'm talking about as a generalization, do you think that sometimes hurts some people?
As you said, right, generalization, I always have this example of, I'll give you two examples. One, as I mentioned earlier, if you're in your dentist's office and the staff that's supporting you while your mouth is open says, hey, it's 5 p.m. I need to go. See, keep your mouth, whatever, right? Or a fire engine stuff. Certain jobs can't be done with a slotted time frame. On the other side of it, there could be certain jobs. One thing I joke about is accountant. I don't want to see my accountant unless I'm in trouble. Even if I'm in trouble, just tell me what I need to do. I really don't need to sit down with you. So I think there are certain jobs, roles where no one needs to work from home. Options are completely fine. But then there are jobs like yours and mine where, let's understand it, right? Even to get a big contract for our company, or for that matter, for some of your larger jumbo clients, you would have to sit down and have that personal experience. Even at jobs, if you aspire to go big, be a leader in the company, grow ladders, take a role at that role, you will be required to bond with your team. And when you're at the bottom of that team, it's in your benefit if you have the dream to go up in 5, 10, 7 years to come in and show your presence. So yes, it does hurt if you're aspirational and you want to grow in your role and your firm or other firms. I think meeting with people, networking, being part of your company, being recognized that you are among them, um, is a two-way street. You get to know where the needs of the company are, what the vision of the company is. You get to learn more being on the floor rather than remote. So in those portions, I think it can absolutely hurt or win. Um, Reflecting back just for myself, I would say, yes, I started my company when my daughter turned 5. And I asked this question to myself. Financially, we are all right. Um, would not say no to more full-time salary and benefits and all that. But if I had to risk health-wise or anything at my age, should I risk it being at 35 or at 45 or
Correct.
55? What about
Correct.
my competency? Like, will I have the urge to learn and keep showing up young, or will the folks that are 7, 10, 15 years younger than me push me to the backseat? So just so many things, right? So
Agree.
when she started going to kindergarten, I was like, okay, the only time she really, really, really need me is when she's sick. Unfortunately, right? Like that's
Yeah.
when you want the parent. But other times, it's all just to back that one up. I also went back to school when she was 10 months old.
Okay.
That path of like staying away had already like
Okay.
happened. And we started this conversation with like, we want to do so many things. And when I went back to school and when I started my business, one other thing I always felt like a fear in me is, if I don't work, if I slack, my child will get sick. That's something that was in me. Like, if I don't utilize and finish my work, she's going to get sick, and that's going to double up my work. So there were certain things that kept me going and saying, do not slack, finish your work, then enjoy, finish your work, and then enjoy. So I think we are blessed to be able to work from home, study from home, just so many things. But we have to be mindful of it not becoming a bad habit upon us, and break away and get back in front of people.
Yeah, and two things came to my thought. It's funny what you said about the 35 thing with the decision. It's funny that when I built my company, I was around that age. And I remember saying exactly the same thing. I said, if I'm going to go down to zero and build something from scratch, I have to do it now. Because another 10 years from now, I'm not going to want to start something at 45. Like, it's too late to start something. So it's funny that you said that, because that was exactly the thought in my brain when I made the move too. So that was one. And then the second thing is actually a question, because I'm curious about your thoughts piggybacking off of the remote thing. Do you think people are losing their social skills by being, because that's something people don't speak about, but I'm seeing it. I am seeing the lack of ability to go into a room, physically together, networking. People are struggling with being able to do that. It's not natural anymore.
That, and if I may add, it's more of, I think we've become pretty pessimist and negative because we are like scrolling and like, you can do it, I can do it. So our brain, even when we are among people, you can see those body languages where Laura and I am talking, but I'm clearly like, Laura, I really don't care. So people are in the room, but they cannot look at things around them that are going to teach them. We are still in an isolated mindset of like, "Well, I don't care. I was
Yeah, you're
asked
right.
to show up. I showed up. Now what?" So
Yeah.
I hope we break out of the shell and like simplest thing as smile, right? Like I see more straight faces with our mask time and all that. Like cheer and smile, they'll come back. hopefully.
I hope so. I hope that. I mean, that's a whole nother discussion of neuroplasticity. If you go into neuroplasticity, it's the changing of your brain after doing something for a period of time. And it's
Feeling comfortable
interesting.
with it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, it's funny, we're recording this. I don't know when this is airing, but we're recording this right before Mother's Day. And my Facebook memories that came up today was Mother's Day 2020. And it's a picture of us in my backyard with my mom and my sisters, and we're wearing masks. We have masks on, right? Now, when you think about it, that's 4 years ago. I mean, that's a long time already. That's 4 years. But what you just said about the smile, about the body language, we've changed. Like, as a human society, we've actually changed. So in order for us to change back, something has to be done, or our brains are not. Now we can go back 100%. Our brains can go back. We
And we are
can
aging.
change.
So it's 4 years, and
Yeah.
4 years of lost opportunities, right? Like how many people, for convenience reasons, have kept that work from home job? Maybe they should have changed it, gotten something else, even if it's like few days going into
Yeah.
the office. Again, some folks, based on their role, it's all good, but I have encountered people that may have stretched their work from home opportunities and may have lost some good opportunities that might have passed them. So, yep.
Agree. Great discussion.
On the same note, though, is my last question. With work from home and return to office, during our previous conversation, you mentioned something about how your son started work and you had a conversation of like what you felt was the right thing for him. You advised him, and then it was like it's his decision. You cannot force him to act one way or the other. Little insights into it, and how has he taken from there?
Yeah. So I was speaking about my youngest son. And listen, from the time he was probably 7 or 8 years old, he told me, Mom, I want to be a technologist. One day I will work in Silicon Valley. And my dream is to either own my own technology company or at least be a CTO in tech. So he went to school for computer science. He got his degree in computer science. And I told him, come work for my company out of college, get experience, right? So that way you can go on about your way. In 2000, I'm picturing my time. Here we go. January of 2020. No joke. It was literally January of
Before
2020. He gets a job, Silicon Valley startup. Okay. Been around for a couple of years, literally moving to San Francisco, March of 2020. Okay. So you see where we're going.
Mhm.
So gets the dream job, doing exactly what he wants to do, got the whole plan. Well, let's fast forward. By August of 2020, they lost their VC funding and he was out of a job. The good news was he never moved. So he never moved because of the pandemic, and he was working from home. So now he has an opportunity in August of 2020 to work back in the mortgage industry in a technology role. But that role was in Philadelphia, and we're in northern New Jersey. So at first, it's August of 2020. No problem, work from home. And I turned to him and I said, I'm going to be honest. I know your goals. I know where you want to go. I know what your dream was, or what was with the Silicon Valley, or now is maybe in a different direction. It is not in your best interest to work remote. And of course, he's like, well, it's going to be me and like maybe the CEO in the office because everybody's
Even
working
better.
remote. And you know what I said? Great, because you are going to get the FaceTime with the
Even
CEO.
better. Yep.
I said, how wonderful is that? Well, fast forward, he's been promoted multiple times and he's on his track making his progress. And he did move to Philadelphia in 2020 and everything worked out. But that was a conversation where it depends on each person's unique situation, right? I wouldn't necessarily say every single person needs to work in an office, but I do think we need to take inventory of ourselves, of what do we truly want, right?
What in the future,
Where are we
currently?
going? Yeah,
Absolutely.
where are we going? Where do you want to be? What type of role do you want to have? Because I'm going to tell you, as a leader, it is very hard for me to evaluate people's skills and think of them for roles when you're not constantly seeing people, right? It was very easy when I was in an office and people would come into my office and I would be in a meeting and I would just listen to them. Like I wasn't having a direct conversation. I would say that person has something. That person is someone I want to invest training into. I want to think about moving them around in other departments. As a leader, it's difficult to have a pulse on every single person in an
I
organization.
mean, simple, right? Out of sight, out of mind. You don't
It's
know their
hard.
personal stories. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is hard to bond. But again, I
Mhm.
think every individual's personalities and, as you said, goal in life. It could be that they want to be a part-time parent at home. Like,
Fine.
so it depends. It depends what the goals are.
That's exactly right. So it really is interesting. And I think people need to, it's funny. I was having a conversation with a woman yesterday, and she was telling me about a goal that she has. And I said, you know, what I'd like to know from you is who do you want to be 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 1 year from now, 6 months from now? Who do you want to be? If I was describing you to someone else, how would you want me to describe you? And she literally said to me, I'm not sure. I don't know. And so I'm going to throw that to you as my question to you. If I was describing you, and of course I have some words I would say myself just in our, getting to know each other, but let's say it was our first conversation where we haven't learned much about each other. How would you want to be known and described to, if I was describing you to a group of people that have never met you, don't know anything about you? What are you striving for?
Um, Personal goal would be I want to be sure I've contributed something, right, in some form. That contribution can be I've had conversations with Laura, and Laura remembers this one conversation I told about my dad's advice to me, or whatever it is, right? Those, again, if I always question what am I doing? Like what's the purpose of my life? And when I say purpose, it's not like what's my passion, what do I want to do, but what can I contribute? If I'm gone tomorrow, is there anything that I'm leaving that people can do as a takeaway? Whether it's maybe my daughter can see me and say, hey, she led a good company, or she was good with friends, she helped my friends, or she helped the parents of my friends, however it is, right? If I can have certain give back to the society and the network that I know, that's how essentially I want to be leave some form of a legacy. Outside of that, just my description, I would say a technology person. Like I love technology, but I don't like devices and technology around me. Like I love the making of the technology, but I'm a pure non-technical person. Yeah, like you'll not find Ninja and Apple Watch, like nothing. I don't want to be surrounded or bashed with technology, but the aspect that you can use technology to help someone or do things faster for them just enhances me so much. Um, Also, I'm someone who, if I know something, I'm going to be blunt and truthful about it. If I know something's going to hurt you or it's not the right choice, based on what relationship we have, right? I'm going to make sure I wouldn't, it's probably not in my upbringing and nature. Um, Indians, we have our personal space, but it's I will poke at you and be like, Laura, I think I know you enough, and this is a wrong choice for you. So it's not like this is her space, that's my space. I'm not going to interfere. So
But
I'm going to
you
stand
would
out.
do that because you cared.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
I absolutely understand that if you took the time to do that, you do it for people that you actually have a care for. I don't think you do it if it's someone that it's kind of like, well, it
Yeah,
doesn't really matter. I don't have a relationship
that
with
that
that person.
relationship should be, yeah, if I know that something's going to hurt them with
Yeah,
a decision, I would absolutely, I think, yeah. Um
I love that.
so yeah.
I like that. Look at us go. Look at that.
There is so much to contribute. Like you can't run out of things that you can just give back and contribute. So absolutely.
Never. And it changes all the time. That's the
It
beauty
does.
of it, right? Is that and I'm a very big believer in every night when I put my head down on the pillow, I believe that if today is that day, that my last day, I believe that I have no regret and everyone that I love knows I love them, and every person that in my life understands that they're special. And I hope to believe that I contributed something in a positive way, and I would be at peace with that. So, isn't that the beauty of life?
Yeah.
Isn't that the
And
best we could do?
and it's a little, it is painful, right? Like I have a few friends and they ask me like, do you like what you do? Like you post on LinkedIn, and they're asking in genuinely, right? Because it's also the fear of like, maybe I want to do it, but I'm just not comfortable. Or sometimes it's like everybody that does LinkedIn stuff or Facebook stuff or influencer mindset is just wasting their. There are so many theories around it. But I also feel like, had I not taken those steps, had you not taken those steps, this would not be happening. So sometimes, in order for us to position ourselves to be able to help someone or to even guide someone or be there for someone as an advisor or mentor, or to open ourselves up to those questions, we've got to put ourselves out there. So that I would say has been a lesson in itself in the last 7 years. It's not only do your task and do it well, but make sure you're talking about your tasks and take it out there so that other people know you've done something and can take something away from what you've done. So
Sounds beautiful to me.
I feel like I'm going in circles, but yeah.
No, I know exactly where you're going, and I get that message, and I think that's beautiful. I really do.
Laura, I can't express in words how happy these conversations have been, and I think my next target would be definitely to meet you in person, because we've got to meet.
That is the next step. And to our point, when we were
Absolutely.
speaking about the whole remote and all that other kind of stuff,
Yes.
there is nothing better. And I can't tell you how many times this happens to me. So actually, I'm going to throw this out there, right? So many times, like I'll post on LinkedIn that I'm attending a particular conference or I'm going to be somewhere. And I have people all the time, they'll reach out to me like on LinkedIn. They'll be like, hey, Laura, I'm going to be there. Can we grab lunch or can we? And I've had such wonderful, wonderful, bonding, being able to then take someone off of LinkedIn and off of the screen and then physically meet together. So, yes, that is a sure thing that the next time we're in the same area, we need to take it to that level.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed recording this session and it's been so much fun. Thanks so much for sharing so candidly your thoughts, your experiences, and about your family. Is there anything, again, Mother's Day, from a mom to other working mom and parents out there, any last takeaways, message that you'd want to share?
You know, a few years ago, I did a women's event where, I brought women together and we did a whole bunch of panel discussions and things like that. And one of the sessions was about working moms. And I wasn't on the panel, I was just in the back listening to it. And I'm listening to all of these women they had such weight on their shoulders, like such guilt. They were carrying guilt so much around with them of am I messing up my child? Am I going to mess up the future of my child because I work so hard? Because maybe I missed the soccer game. Maybe I can't be there, or I'm working. I can't be at home when they're little. And I remember this so vividly because it was painful to me to watch these wonderful, wonderful women, beat up on themselves. And I remember I stood up and I said, ladies, I'm sorry, I have to interrupt this, right? I have to interrupt this. And they're like, Laura, what's up? And I said, I'm going to share a story that it was 2017 and we were in Portugal. My husband's parents live in Portugal and it was their 50th wedding anniversary. And so the whole family was there and it was my husband and my two boys and we were driving around somewhere. And of course, you're just talking, right? Those are those moments you're in a car, you're talking to each other. And I don't even know what caused me to do it. But I said to my boys, guys, I have to ask a question and I'm kind of scared of the answer, but I have to ask. They're like, what's that, Mom? And I said, guys, I missed a lot of stuff. I didn't leave work to see the event that was happening in the middle of the day. I missed the stuff after school. I wasn't there to pick you up. I missed all that stuff. Do you feel that do you feel neglected or do you feel that I did something wrong during that time? And I'll never forget this moment because it was so special in my heart when my voice said, Mom, don't you understand the example that you set for us?
Wow.
Don't you understand that when you were there, you were there, you were present, you weren't on your phone, you weren't on your computer, you were there, you were talking to us, you were asking us about our day, you were solving our problems with us, you were listening to us, you were holding us when we were crying, when we had something bad happen. So he said, when you were there, you were there. So my message to everyone out there, male, female, whatever, number one, don't put that guilt on you. We all want to have every single minute of thinking we're doing the right thing. And unfortunately, that doesn't exist in our lives, any of our lives. But the second piece of it is be there fully when you are there. Put down the phone, put away the computer, turn the TV off, the screens, whatever, and just talk, laugh, be together, run outside, want to play ball, whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, those are the things that are going to matter. The other stuff will fall away.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that strong message. That's yes, we have to all remind ourselves about it. With our parents, with our family, even with friends, we get so little time to meet with everyone. But when you're there, we don't have to look at each other's feeds. Just be there.
People are like looking
Yeah,
across each other
everyone's
with
like,
their phone.
I'm like, this whole table, 12 people, no one's talking.
Exactly. Exactly. Put the phone down.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura. This has been fun. Thanks again, and I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day.
Thank you. You too.